everybody, Dan Illman, Mike here. The DRF race of the day for Sunday, October the 8th, race number 9 at Keeneland. It's a very important prep race for the Breeders' Cup Distaff. It's the Grade 1 Spinster. Let's take a look at this field. $600,000 is the purse. It's the rematch, Mike, between Nest and Idiomatic. They faced off in the Personal Ensign. It was a sloppy track, and Idiomatic wired Nest.
Yeah, kind of a two-horse race here. It seems like anyway, Dan, between the 2 and the 3. Do you think Nest should be favored this time, Dan? Idiomatic played $10 last time when she wired the Ensign. I know it's going to be closer. Should she be favored in here?
I have a feeling Nest is going to be favored based on her overall body of work and the fact that Idiomatic's big victory came over a sloppy track. I think maybe the fans will think that Nest will rebound over fast going, but you're right, it's going to be closer as the morning line indicates. The key to me in this race is, will the pace situation be the same as it was in the Personal Ensign? In the Personal Ensign, the Timeform US pace projector indicated Idiomatic was going to the lead in a situation that favored front runners. That's how it played out. Idiomatic won. Are we going to see a carbon copy?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's the whole question to the race. It made, to me anyway, and maybe you disagree with this, it made all the difference the last time in the Personal Ensign, Dan, because there was no reason for Nest to not be more forwardly placed in that race, unless for some reason Irad just felt like she wasn't handling the wet track, because 24 and change and then 48 and 4 with Idiomatic just basically in control. It was always going to be really hard to beat her that day. I don't know why Irad didn't get more aggressive that day. I suspect he will on Sunday.
I agree with you. Maybe it was a combination of the wet track and he felt she wasn't handling it early. Maybe it was the fact that they just didn't give Idiomatic that much respect and thought they were so much better that they were going to go by no matter what the trip. But I disagree with Timeform US, and I think you do too, in that I think Nest is going to be right on top of Idiomatic this time.
Yeah, she's going to be more forwardly placed this time. She's not a slow horse. I mean, obviously she's perfectly comfortable when she settles off the pace and has to do it that way, but she could be closer if she has to. And if this pace projector is right and nobody else goes with Idiomatic early, then Nest has to go.
I've always been a fan of the number 163 Caliber. She's a graded stakes winner in New York. She won the Comely as a 3-year-old. She just has been beaten several times already by Idiomatic, and it's going to take a lot for her to turn the tables. Now, if you want to say she didn't handle the wet track at all in the Personal Ensign, that's fine. She just didn't do any running, and now all of a sudden Tom Amoss is putting blinkers on.
Yeah, she didn't run well at all last time. And maybe it was just that wet track. I guess we'll find out more on Sunday. Her prior 3 efforts, though, they're pretty good, Dan. So I would expect her to run better in this race. It kind of feels like she's the 3rd most likely winner of the race. If you want to handicap it that way and say, listen, the 2 favorites, they're going to hook up this time, and maybe it sets it up for somebody else. And if that happens, they probably set it up for this horse.
The Juddmonte filly Idiomatic has really come into her own for Brad Cox, and she really wowed me in the Delaware handicap. I was there in the paddock and just has size and presence to her. And in that race as well, she overcame a lot. It wasn't a great field, but she missed the break very badly, then was on a hard chase, and she was able to fight back to win. She didn't have to work as hard to make the lead in the Personal Ensign over this wet track. Florent Giroux was able to back down the fractions after setting an uncontested lead, and she sprints on home.
Yeah, had all the best of it here, but it's another really good performance from this filly. Just feels like she's getting better with every start, Dan, and her tactical speed. Just a really significant factor in this kind of a race because you know where she's going to be early. This is a good performance, and maybe the wet track had something to do with it, but it's now 3 straight triple-digit buyers for this filly. She's only getting better.
Yeah, can you make the argument that we still could see a forward move? She's relatively lightly raced compared to Nest, who's really been through the wars. I mean, Kentucky Oaks, Belmont Stakes, Breeders' Cup Distaff. Maybe Idiomatic has a little bit more upside?
Yeah, I think that's a perfectly valid way to look at it. I mean, obviously, the flip side of that is Nest has gotten off to a pretty belated start this year. Now she's 3rd off the layoff, so maybe she moves forward in this race at least just as much as Idiomatic does. But yeah, certainly that's a valid way to look at Idiomatic for sure.
It's a very good point about Nest as well, because you're right. She got a late start to the year. She came back in the Shoe V, and she handled a very good filly in Clairiere off of the layoff. And in the Personal Ensign, she has the ready-made excuse, not only of the wet track, but she was up against it from a race flow. Have you seen any flaws in her 2 starts this year that might make you think she's not as good as she was in 2022?
I wouldn't look at it that way, although maybe the last race, maybe that is the case that you want to start taking that position on this filly, especially if she's another short price. Dan, it was a wet track, and that could be a valid excuse. She also didn't get the aggressive ride, but let's be honest, she never really made it that close in the personal ensign, and she didn't even get second in that race. So, I mean, maybe those are all negatives concerning that. She looked really good off the layoff in the Shoe V. It was a short field. It was a super slow pace, and she had all the best of it that day, but she did not move forward last time.
Linda Vita is the number 4, and she's getting out to arguably her best distance, 1.125 miles. She has winning experience at Keeneland. She's a bit of an in and outer. She ran okay in the Molly Pitcher 2 starts back. She often doesn't change leads in the stretch. That could work against her as she faces top fillies. And the last race was just a bit of a head scratcher for me, the Locust Grove. I know she was wide, but I think she's supposed to run better. I know Search Results is a good mare.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. I thought she would run better last time, although she was outside in men. That was not a great setup for this horse. She's one of the horses who doesn't really have any speed, and she just sort of wants to sit and make one run. That was never going to work in the Locust Grove last time. Her form prior to that was actually pretty good. I just don't know that this race sets up great for her.
Will the 5 Bellamore be sort of stuck in the chase mode situation because she does have a hint of early speed? I'm not sure she's as fast as Idiomatic, but I think they're going to try to get forwardly placed with her. She should be fresh. We haven't seen her since the 1st of July. She ran in the Fleur-de-Lis. She showed speed that day. I just didn't see an excuse.
No, I mean, we'll see if they decide to get aggressive with her. That could make things interesting in this race then if she's part of the pace. Otherwise, I mean, I don't really know what there is to like here. She's never won a race on dirt, and I doubt she's going to win the first dirt race of her career in the Spinster.
Misty Vale's been a successful claim for Michael Maker. He took her for $80,000. He got her a graded stakes placing last time out. He got her a stakes win in the Allaire DuPont on Preakness weekend. It's just that she's a little bit slow on paper. She does have some tactical speed, but you already know what you're going to get from Misty Vale after 31 starts, and she would need a career best and perhaps some other things to happen to the favorites in order to upset.
Yeah, exactly. It's also interesting too, Dan, because since Maker's taken over in particular, they haven't really been using her speed at all. If you go back in her PPs as a 3-year-old and then into her 4-year-old campaign, she was a speed horse. She was always right up there on the lead. That's not her style anymore. I don't think she's good enough to win this race. I wonder if they try at some point to get more aggressive with her early.
Malloy was the one that was aggressive in the personal ensign. She was the one that tried to keep pace with Idiomatic early, and Idiomatic shrugged her away. Now, maybe she didn't care for the wet track. It'll be interesting to see if Jose Lezcano opts for similar tactics this time around, or maybe they'll want someone else to do the dirty work, and they can sit back 3rd or 4th. She's versatile that way.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what they're going to try to do with her here. Based on her overall form, she basically has no chance in this race, and she had no chance last time in the personal ensign. I mean, it's not like they got super aggressive in there, Dan. They didn't go after Idiomatic. They elected to sit second to her, and then they just got outrun from about the 3/8 pole.
Before we get to our top selections, please click the subscribe button for the Daily Racing Form YouTube channel for the latest DRF videos. Top pick time. You're going to go with Nest. I'm going to go with Idiomatic. I've always been a big Nest fan. I just have a feeling Idiomatic is getting good at the right time, and she's going to get the jump on Nest once again.
Yeah, it could easily play out that way. Then I'm going to give Nest one more chance. I really liked her last year. I don't think we've seen her best race yet as a 4-year-old. Maybe she won't get any better from here. I suspect that she will, though. She's got to make it closer with Idiomatic this time, at least in the early stages. I'll take her. It's not really a betting race, though.
3241 for Mike, 2316 for me. It's the Grade 1 Spinster, important precursor to the Breeders' Cup Distaff. Good luck.